Hello everyone. As you know, we are your new library management team for the complex library system. And if you do not know who we are, this is Caitlyn Stever, Tom Matthews, and I am Morgan Brett. We've unfortunately begun our tenure during a difficult time in regards to funding for our libraries. Due to an unanticipated series of economic and political events, the complex library system is required to make a series of budget reductions in order to adapt to the new reduced funding level that our funding authority has given us. I thank you all for being here today as we aim to keep our staff, board, and community in the know and able to state their opinions on the options we will present to you today on how to address this situation. Our current budget for 2017 is $4,609,141. The actual amount of money spent in 2016's fiscal year was $4,300,616. We have been directed to cut 18% of total overall funding, which means that we must cut $829,645. Since we place a high value on our staff, and the library system is only run as well as it is because of our staff, the library management team is hesitant to reduce the number of employees we have running our facilities. Although they are a large fiscal liability, they remain our greatest asset in best serving our patrons. The patrons we serve may see changes in the reduction of library assets, the number of facilities we have open, the hours we keep, and the library materials we acquire may change. Reducing these numbers will help us to meet the 18% cut to our budget. Now we will take a look at our current funding levels. Employee compensation, salaries, benefits, tuition reimbursement, recognition, etc. makes up 70.8% of our current budget for 2017. Supplies consist of 1.9%, and services, which include rent, furniture, bookmobile, computer-related items, and etc., consist of 5.8% of the budget. Library materials consist of 11.8%, and the capital outlay is 0.24%. The main branch building also has an additional funding that is relatively low. How a budget reduction could affect our community. A budget reduction could affect our community in a number of ways. Our library is run efficiently because of its staffing, so cutting staff will reduce the quality of service that we can give to our community. We are hesitant to reduce the number of employees as they remain our greatest asset in best serving our patrons. Our patrons will see a change in the reduction of library assets. Unfortunately, this cannot be avoided. Today, we will present 3 different options that would satisfy the 18% cut with minimal impact on library services. After discussing these 3 scenarios, we will also propose a plan that could fully fund this deficit, allowing us to scrap the 18% cut entirely. Please hold your questions until the end of this presentation, and then we will open the floor for questions and concerns. We have also placed feedback forms that we encourage you to fill out before you leave with additional questions, and if you feel that this presentation was informative or something that you would encourage us to have when discussing future library endeavors. This leads us to our first scenario, which follows as such. In 2016, our actual money spent was $4,300,616. Scenario 1 plans to enact a system-wide freeze. We will be utilizing our 2016 actuals for our 2017 budget. Except mandatory increases in health insurance, retirement contributions, and Medicare. This saves us an immediate $267,049 without any disruption in services. The first thing that we will be cutting will be the tuition reimbursement, which is $10,591. The tuition reimbursement program is an employee program where money is given to employees for tuitions at schools of higher education in order to advance their careers within the library system. The next elimination will be the Employee Recognition Fund, which is $2,034. This program gives funds for recognizing employees for exemplary performance in the workplace, but this can also be funded by the staff itself instead of allocating budget money towards this program. We will be eliminating conference meetings funding, which is $7,438.53. Employees will need to pay registration fees for conferences, and meetings will no longer be funded by the library's budget. We will also be eliminating vacancy advertising, which is resulting in a hiring freeze, which is $472. A hiring freeze will be implemented, and therefore there will be no need for advertising vacancies. After much consideration, we have chosen to close the MP2 branch. This closing will affect some patrons. Services to patrons in this area will still be able to receive service from the bookmobile. It is unfortunately inevitable. This would add up to saving $232,000 and facility costs of $16,143. Unfortunately, there will be a loss of staff due to this closure. There is also an accounting error concerning MP2's budget that was present before we took over. This is currently being looked into, and we do not have more information concerning this matter at this moment, but we are dedicated to being transparent with our community. Overtime, extra time, and Sundays are canceled. We cannot sustain that level of service. This comes with a savings of $21,832. We will also be cutting acquisitions of books in adult fiction and nonfiction by $272,000. We will be focusing on utilizing the ILL system between libraries to continue to provide the same amount of reading material to our patrons. And now we will be moving on to our second scenario. Our second scenario would be to utilize a formula budget that is dictated by how many patrons utilize each branch. Our reduced budget is now $3,799,496. Our total door count for all libraries combined is 2,020 patrons. $70% is $2,659,647 to be used for employee compensation across all 4 branches of the library. That leaves $1,139,848 to be distributed among all 3 branches for supplies, services, and library materials. Supplies consist of 1.9% of this budget. Services consist of 5.8% of the budget. Library materials consist of 11.8% of this budget. Now we will move on to scenario 3, which is our final scenario. The third scenario focuses on meeting service goals and objectives by focusing on performance levels. Of our 4 branches, MP2 has consistently had lower numbers as far as circulation, patronage, and program attendance. Therefore, we've decided to close that branch, but we'll continue to focus our bookmobile in the area as a means to not completely disrupt our patrons' schedules. MP2 only accounts for 8.9% library patronage, 10.24% of circulated items, and 2.85% of reference questions the library takes in daily. This has led to our decision to close the branch and to focus resources on MB, RB, and MP1 branches, which we can improve our services at and steadily meet our objectives. This eliminates $248,363, or 29.9%. Our MB branch accounts for 60% of patrons who visit the children's department in the library branches, and for 35% of our circulation of children's materials, yet RB is equally as staffed as our busiest MB. Since one of our major service goals is to provide materials and resources for children and young adults, we do not wish to cut what is offered at our most utilized location, but no longer see a need to overly staff locations like RB, which see much less foot traffic, conduct less programming, and have lower circulation rates. Therefore, we will be downsizing our children's staff from 3 full-time reference and program assistants to 1 full-time position. We will also be eliminating the young adult reference and programming assistant. This will unite the YA and children's librarians and staff in their mission to deliver the best possible services to those under 18 years old. This eliminates $98,280, or 11.84%. We will also be eliminating a reference and programming assistant from the children's department and the adult department of the MB, and the genealogy local history assistant. This eliminates $98,280, or 11.84%. Delivering the best materials to our patrons is undoubtedly another top priority for our library. But the avenues through which we can achieve this has expanded with the opportunity of ILL and new technology. ILL accounts for 23% of our daily circulation across branches, and it is this type of service that the library should be expanding rather than filtering more money into the acquisition of physical library materials. By allotting $10,255 for interlibrary loan delivery service, we are capitalizing on our ability to still provide our patrons with the items they desire while remaining within our budget. This will allow us to reduce spending and meet our service goals. Therefore, we will be reducing the budget for adult fiction and nonfiction. This leaves us with $198,552. This eliminates $116,293, or 14% of the budget. Because of this reduction, we will be able to reduce staff that assists primarily with the acquisition and input of new items, and will be reducing our tech staff accordingly. The cataloging assistant position will be eliminated, as well as our acquisitions assistant and our ILL assistant. This eliminates $98,280, or 11.84%. In addition, since we are severely cutting our purchases, we will be reducing the amount of money allotted to processing supplies. Our budget will drop from $22,405 to $10,500, saving us $11,908. Also, MP1 has only a slightly higher circulation rate than MP2. According to the performance data, MP1 circulated 531 items while MP2 circulated 381. This is a very small difference. MP2 was able to do this with only 1 full-time staff member managing the circulation of materials through the building. This, of course, could not be achieved by 1 person alone at MP1, considering the lengthier hours the facility is open. But it does show that there is room to downsize in this department, while still meeting our service goals. We will be reducing our size from 3 full-time circulation assistants to 2 full-time members of the team. This saves us $32,760. So how do we replace these services? Eliminating some paid positions in the library can seem daunting. As much as we would like to keep our paid staff on board, we've discovered that allowing interns to fulfill these roles in College Partnership Program will allow us to keep the staff necessary to run our branches, but save money overall. We will be gaining interns from local colleges that are currently enrolled in the MS-ILS programs to fill vital roles in the adult, children, and YA departments in exchange for experience in their respective fields and college credits. Interns can also replace positions we've lost in the tech area of the library in acquisitions, cataloging, and ILL. There will also be other small changes in the amount of extra hours employees can work. Because of reductions, we will also be eliminating extra hours that may have been available prior to the budget reduction. This will save the library $10,857. We will also be eliminating the tuition reimbursement program on the basis that tuition is now free in our state. This saves the library $10,591. We will also be cutting employee vacancy ads and printing and publication fees by advertising job opportunities through colleges we have formed relationships with for interns and through local library organizations and systems. We will also print our own newsletters and flyers in-house, which will save us money. This reduction saves the library $836. The library is also embracing sustainability and will therefore be utilizing less postage. Our notices will be delivered electronically or by phone, so we will need less postage. This will reduce this budget from $3,266 to $2,000. Before these cuts, we had 66 full-time employees between 4 branches. Assuming all of these employees were entitled to health insurance coverage mandated by the state, we will be saving money from their elimination. Each employee's health insurance runs $6,369. Since we've eliminated 16 positions, including those from the MP2 branch closure, this will save us $101,908. So how do we replace that 18%? Form a nonprofit group that is separate from the library that will solicit donations in the library's favor and conduct various fundraising activities on the library's behalf. We can recruit influential members of the community to serve on the board of directors, especially those with fundraising experience. But we should focus on our fundraising on individuals more so over businesses, organizations, or corporations. According to Library Strategies, more than 80% of library donations come from philanthropic dollars. Solicit money by having members who know others to ask them rather than an impersonal email or phone call. We can develop our prospects and using sample planning grid that sets up multiple gift amounts and how many each type of donation is needed helps to organize our fundraising. Since it is possible that the library will work closely with students looking for internship placements, we can solicit an endowment from them or another educational organization. An endowment allows us to seek permanent funding from a private donor. Although these endowments have many specifications or the right to name a section or collection of the library, it won't have the kind of stipulations we would see from government funding that may appear to hinder or complicate our ethical obligations. We can also hold a public forum on the topic of raising taxes to help compensate for the library's lack of funding. We can hold meetings and be available to discuss what types of services this tax increase would cover and how patrons would see their money put to use. The final budget decision will be voted on in the library. Unfortunately, we will have to make some sacrifices with a budget reduction this large. but ultimately we feel we will be able to preserve the services and resources we feel are important in our community. Closing the library or altering hours would disrupt our patrons' lives and hinder their access to materials. Greatly reducing the budget for materials would also have this effect. There are many options that we have worked hard to create in order to present them to our stakeholders to show that although this cut is a significant blow to our budget, there are many ways that we can fundraise, generate more revenue, and make cuts to keep our community receiving the quality services from our libraries and staff while building on our future vision for the complex library system and its place in the community. Thank you, and we will now be opening up the floor for any questions, and please remember to fill out the feedback form that you have received before you leave.